You are now listening to the Flurry podcast hosted by Marquise Rawls. I know. I went overboard last episode. I know I did. When I listened to it back, I thought to myself, yeah, I took a little too far. But nonetheless, she kind of deserved it, okay? But let's get into some of these fights, right? The first fight I'm going to talk about is Chocolatito, who I felt like I haven't seen in a very long time. It has to have been over a year since I've seen Chocolatito. But he came back and fought Isreal Gonzalez, who's a very good young fighter. And when I say that Chocolatito is back, woo, Chocolatito's back. He really is back. He was coming forward. He was landing strong punches. He was controlling the fight. He was controlling the pace of the fight. He was controlling the real estate of the ring, how the vintage Chocolatito used to do. And now he's back to that. Now, it could be that, because Gonzalez is 23 years old. He's a very young fighter. He still is sort of peaking, so he don't know the different tactics of winning and fighting in a high caliber fight. But none of that really matters because it's Chocolatito. Chocolatito, no matter what you try to do, Chocolatito, he's at that level where he can negate anything you try to do. And Gonzalez, he tried to do a lot of things. He really did. He tried to establish a jab. He tried to fight on the inside. He tried to fight on the outside. He tried to move around the ring, fight off his back foot, and nothing worked for him. Everything he tried doing, Chocolatito had an answer, and he just won the rounds, round by round by round. He just kept winning round after round after round. And Gonzalez, he had some success too. He was fair game. He came in. He came for a fight, basically. He came for a fight, and that's what he got to fight. But the better man won. You can't be mad at it. The main event of that fight was Francisco Estrada. Now let me look up real quick who he fought, because Quadras to the rematch. Both of these people lost to Chocolatito in the past, and both of them come together to duke it out, to see if Quadras could take the reign from Estrada, because Estrada, he's been on a hefty run the past few years. He's been fighting really good. He's been having some amazing fights. He's been having Fight of the Year candidates. And I believe he's in the top 10 pound for pound according to ESPN. I believe he was like number 8 or 9, might even be 10, but he made the list. And with this fight, the winner of this fight will have to see Chocolatito. But what happened in this fight? Okay, so coming into the first half of the fight, it's going really good, really exciting. It's a little bit back and forth, but then Quadros actually dropped Estrada. He actually dropped him because he was just a little bit quicker on his punch. And he's no slouch. He's not slow. It's just in the first half of the fight, Quadros, he seemed to have the upper hand just slightly. Not saying that he was winning every single round, but when I'm watching the fight, it just looked like he was having a little bit more success, right? So the first half of the fight, I sort of scored it half and half, right? Sort of scored it half and half, but the second half of the fight is when I think Estrada, he turned it up. And if you watch Estrada fight before, you know when he turns it up, there's almost nothing most people could do about it. Unless you have the power and the size to really fight on the outside, there's really nothing you can do about it. And Quadras, a good fighter, he did knock down Estrada early on in his fight, but it was more so like a flash knockdown. You know that knockdown where the person didn't really see the punch come in. They just knees buckle a little bit. That's the kind of knockdown it was. It wasn't nothing too special, nothing too devastating where Estrada is really hurt and fighting for his life. He wasn't no incapacitated or even buzzed from it. So second half of this fight, Quadras, he couldn't really negate Estrada coming forward and just throwing hook after hook, jab after jab, combination after combination. And Quadras, he couldn't even really counter. He tried it, but Estrada had pretty decent head movement. With his head movement and him throwing good, sharp combinations, it's nothing Quadras he could really do about that. And he tried. He was fair game. He tried. He got hurt a couple times until Estrada came through in round 11 and said it's time to get your ass out of there. And he dropped him 2 times. And then the ref said, I've seen enough. Estrada, you've done enough, okay? You've done enough. No need to punish Quadras no more. No need to punish him, okay? He has to go home to his wife and kids. Look what you already did to his face. You don't want to do any more damage. You don't want him to go home looking like the hunchback from Notre Dame, right? No need to batter his face any more than you have already done so. So I'm going to call the fight off. And that's what happened. It was a great fight, exciting fight. But now Chocolatito and Estrada, they have to duke it out one more time. Like I said before, Chocolatito did win their first bout, which I believe it was actually quite a long time ago. It might have been in 2013 it happened, or 2012. It might have been in one of those 2 years where Chocolatito won. But I think Estrada, he's gotten slightly better. He's gotten slightly better. And Chocolatito, he, like I said, Chocolatito's still really good, but he still did decline just a little bit. So maybe the gap is a little smaller in talent, or maybe it's even. Maybe it's even. Who knows? We just got to see until they fight each other. It's going to be a crazy one. I can't wait to see it. I know you want to see it, right? So let's get that fight going. 2021, first quarter of 2021, that fight has to happen. Now, there was also another card on, what was it on, Showtime? Was it Showtime? Yeah, Showtime, where Sergey Lipinets fought a guy named Clayton, who haven't really heard of him. But apparently they say he's the best Canadian fighter of this generation. He's an Olympian. They said he fought Errol Spence in the amateurs, which he did lose. But, hey, they say he gave Errol Spence a pretty good fight. So he got to have some skill to him. But before I get into that fight, I got to talk about this one undercard. So the first undercard of that Showtime event that was held was Hawkins versus Mateos. Yo, I really be botching people's name up because I just don't know how to say this shit. I really don't. Mateos, however the fuck you say his name, right? I'm going to just call him Matt, right? Hawkins versus Matt. Hawkins is promoted by Floyd Mayweather. He was undefeated. I believe I might have seen his last fight, but they did a little recap on his last fight where he was losing every single round, and he came back with a impressive knockout. Okay, pretty good. Last bout, a little shaky. But this other guy, Matt, they say he's a knockout artist, right? Okay, so the fight happens. The fight starts. Seems to be going pretty well for Hawkins at first in round 1. He looks like he's establishing his jab a little bit. He obviously looks like he's that technical counterpuncher, right? The technical counterpuncher. But then as the fight goes on, you start seeing that Matt, he starts landing a little more. He starts like really stalking Hawkins. And I'm sitting here thinking like, whoa, what's going on? Like, Hawkins, you're trained by Floyd Mayweather. Floyd, who is the counterpunch king. Who is the king of technical fighting off the back foot, dipping and dodging everything, and just coming up, pop, and just hitting someone. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Floyd probably taught him how to do all these different maneuvers. He's from Baltimore, so he trains with Gervonta Davis. So he must have sparred with a pretty good bunch of fighters. But training is different from actually doing. Because this guy, Matt, he just started laying on him. Laying everything. He was throwing everything in the kitchen sink. He was landing bomb after bomb. He was going to the head. Went to the body a little bit, not too much. He should have went to the body a little bit more. But he had Hawkins hurt. And then some bullshit fucking happens. As always in boxing, some bullshit always fucking happens. You can't have a card unless some fucking bullshit happens. Where, I believe was it after round 7 or 8, they send Hawkins to the corner and say, hey, we're going to have a doctor look at your face because you looking disgusting right now. Look at your eyes. He got cuts and bruises, his eyes swollen, closed and everything. So they send him to the doctor and the doctor says, oh no, this guy, he can't continue. Call the fight off. Like, what the fuck you talking about? Call the fight off? I don't think I've ever seen a doctor call the fight off. They got to change that rule where doctors could call the fight off. Because, yes, his face was battered. Yes, he was losing the rounds. Yes, he was getting beat up. And he did get dropped. But it's not like he was on super wobbly legs. It's not like he was on the verge of getting severely injured. And I'm no doctor and I'm not the ref, so maybe they saw signs that me watching on TV I didn't see. But he looked like he was walking just fine. He was hearing everything clear. He looked, besides his battered face, he looked pretty damn fine to me that he could at least finish that last couple rounds, that it wasn't a fight. It wasn't much left in the fight. It was like 2 rounds or so left in the fight. He looked like he could have finished it, but the doctor had to come and say, oh no, he's done for the night. Send his ass back to Baltimore. Like, fucking bullshit, man. I've never seen doctor stop the fight before. It's first time. And maybe it's for the best. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just being a fucking prick, right? And I want to see people like really go out on their shield. I want to see people actually lose a fight because the ref intervenes you from getting knocked the fuck out in the ring, or you actually like fight into your last ounce of energy. But I don't want to see no doctor like in the corner looking at you. He's touching all over your face and everything. He's touching your eye. He's touching that little bulge you have in your forehead from all the punches you've been taking. And then he says, nah, you had enough. I don't want to see that shit, man. But the fight, it was still a good fight, though. It's just I just get mad at just a lot of stupid shit, right? It was still a good fight. Hawkins, he did his best. He put up a good performance. I do see he has some skill and some talent. I think his downfall was his lack of punching. I think it was his lack of punching, his lack of footwork, and he never established a jab. Like, boxers really, a lot of these young boxers, they really, I don't know if they aren't taught this, or I don't know if it's a new mindset that some of these young boxers be having, but a lot of them, they do not know the importance of a fucking jab. Like, you can do so much with a jab. Like, do you know how you can literally control a fight with a jab? And I'm going to show you a perfect example in this fight with Sergey Lipinets versus Clayton. Yo, this guy Clayton, I've never heard of him, but his jab was impeccable. There was some rounds where he won the round by literally just jabbing. He would dodge a punch and counter punch with a jab. Like, his jab was literally the most dangerous punch that he had in his arsenal. And he was catching Sergey a lot with it. And Sergey really had no answer. He really didn't. He couldn't do anything. He tried head movement, he tried backing up, he tried moving to the side, he tried everything, but he couldn't avoid that stiff and dangerous jab. And that jab to the body, that Clayton was doing, I swear, that is probably one of the hardest jabs to the body I've seen in a long time. Really. And this guy Clayton, he said that he believes he has the best jab in the welterweight division. And I don't know him that well, but hey, he might be right. He might be right. When I think of some of the great welterweights that's out right now, like Terence Crawford, or Errol Spence, even like a Ugas or Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman, fighters of that caliber, they have really good jabs, but their jab is not their main weapon. Their jab is not their focal point of offense. For Clayton, his jab is his focal point of offense. So he works on it more than anything else. Well, I assume he works on it more than anything else. So that's why his jab is impressive, it's impeccable, and he used it so fantastic. He didn't get the win. The fight was ruled the draw because, which, I'm a little flip-flop on it because there's some really close rounds where I could say that Sergey lost, that I think the judges and even the unofficial score I gave him. And there was also a couple rounds, or maybe one round where they said that Clayton won, where I think he might have lost it. But Clayton, he looked more impressive, right? He looked more impressive, one, because I've seen Sergey fight before. He had a amazing fight with Lamont Peterson. His last fight was incredible. He had a really great fight against Mikey Garcia, even though he lost. So we can see how dangerous of a fighter he is. We can see how great of a fighter he is. And not to be disrespectful to Clayton, but I didn't know him, and he's never fought in America. He wasn't really even on the top contenders list radar, so he was kind of a no-name. Then he comes and he puts on this impressive performance where I just thought that whatever fighter you put in front of Sergey, if he's not really good or well-known and elite, Sergey's going to knock him the fuck out. Not Clayton. He came through, like I said, used his jab impressively. He put on a great performance, and literally with this one fight, in my eyes, he made a name for himself. He made a name for himself. I would like to see Clayton in not super big fights, but you could put him in with some good opposition. You could have Clayton against Jesse Vargas. You could have Clayton against like a Virgil Ortiz. You could have Clayton against like a Jaron Jaron Ennis. I probably fucked up his first name too, but you know who the fuck I'm talking about, man. All these complicated ass names. What the hell happened to people naming their kids something simple like Bob and Peter? What happened to those names, right? But I would like to see Clayton fight some better opposition, because I think he really earned the spot as a high level contender, in my opinion. So that's all for the Flurry Podcast. You were just listening to the Flurry Podcast hosted by Marquise Rawls. Stay tuned for the next episode, or go back and listen to the previous episodes if you haven't done so.